The Mercedes died on a road that didn't exist on any map. Elena Torres had been driving for 6 days straight, not going anywhere, just away. Away from Seattle. Away from the brownstone on Pike Street where her mother's reading glasses still sat on the kitchen counter. Away from the life she couldn't bear to face. The engine didn't sputter or cough. It simply stopped, as if the universe had decided enough was enough. She coasted to a halt between endless vineyards and rolling hills. Napa Valley stretched around her like a postcard she couldn't afford to send. Her phone screen glowed, 2% battery, no signal. Elena sat there, hands on the wheel, and felt the laugh bubble up, bitter, sharp, the kind that cuts your throat on the way out. Then came the tears. 7 months. 7 months since Mama died, and this was the first time Elena had let herself completely shatter. Not at the memorial service where 200 people watched. Not when the lawyer read the will. Not in the empty house that still smelled like vanilla candles and Sunday puzzle. No, she saved her breaking point for a dead car in the middle of wine country. She cried for Mama, who raised her alone after the accident took Papa when Elena was 4. Cried for being 31 and utterly lost. Cried because she'd been taking random music therapy contracts across California just to avoid going home. When the tears finally stopped, the silence was deafening. Elena grabbed her bag and started walking. Heat pressed down like a physical weight. Thunder rumbled somewhere distant, late September storms rolling in from the Pacific. That's when she saw it through a gap in the oak trees. The estate made her forget how to breathe. This wasn't some tourist winery with a tasting room and gift shop. This was old money, quiet power, a Spanish colonial revival mansion that belonged in a museum. Cream-colored walls, terracotta roof tiles, arched windows catching the fatting sunlight. Gardens that flowed from manicured to wild, as if someone had given up halfway through tamming them. The iron gate stood 12 feet tall, worked with intricate grapevine patterns. Beyond them, a gravel drive wound through ancient oaks. No signs, no mailbox, just a discreet intercom panel. Elena reached for the button. "Lord have mercy, you look half dead." The woman approaching from the garden side was maybe mid-60s, with warm brown skin and silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore dirt-stained work clothes and carried gardening shears like they were extensions of her hands. Her eyes were sharp but kind. "I'm so sorry," Elena stammered, suddenly aware of her tear-swollen face. "My car died about a mile back and my phone's dead and You just need help and it looks like you've needed it for a while." The woman was already unlocking a smaller gate. "I'm Rosa Delgado. Come on before you collapse in this heat." "I don't want to impose." "Too late, you're already imposing by looking pitiful at my gate." Rosa's tone was matter-of-fact, not unkind. "Now get in here before those storm clouds catch up." Elena followed her up the long drive. Up close, the mansion was even more stunning, every detail perfect, yet something felt off. Too pristine, too untouched, like a photograph of a life rather than a life itself. Inside was cool and dim, smelling of old wood and fresh flowers, and something cooking that made Elena's stomach clench with hunger. The foyer stretched up 2 stories, crowned by a chandelier that could have been featured in Architectural Digest. Hardwood floors worn smooth by generations. Antique furniture that looked used, lived in, yet still that strange museum quality. Rosa led her to a kitchen that seamlessly blended modern and vintage, marble counters, and professional appliances, alongside a farmhouse sink and open shelving with antique dishes. She poured Elena ice water and set out fresh empanadas, still warm. "Eat." Elena bit into one and almost wept again. Perfectly seasoned beef, flaky pastry that melted on her tongue. Rosa was already on the phone with a tow company. Highway 29, about a mile south of the Castellano estate. Mercedes, silver. "No, tomorrow's fine. Roads flood too quick out here when it storms." She hung up and studied Elena with knowing eyes. Truck won't come till morning. You're stuck with me and the ghost upstairs. Ghost? That's what I call Mr. Sebastian. Haunts this place like he died years ago, but his heart's still beating. Affection and frustration mixed in her voice. Been working here 9 years, trying to get that man to remember how to live. That's when Elena heard it. Piano music drifting from somewhere above, not classical, something original. Something that sounded like loneliness had learned to compose. The melody wound through the house like smoke, complex and achingly simple at once. Beautiful, devastating. What is that? Elena whispered. Sebastian plays when storms come, has for 9 years now. Rosa was pulling out ingredients. Sometimes the same piece over and over, sometimes something new. Today's new must be feeling something different. Why doesn't he come down? Rosa's hand stilled over a cutting board. Same reason you've been driving for 6 days instead of going home, I'd wager. Sometimes grief makes us run. Sometimes it makes us hide. Mr. Sebastian chose hiding. The observation landed like a physical blow. Elena looked down at her water glass. How did you? Child, I raised 4 children and worked for 3 generations of Castellanos. I know a runner when I see one. Rosa began chopping onions with practiced efficiency. You've got somewhere you're supposed to be. Seattle, my mother's house. Elena's voice cracked. She died 7 months ago. I still can't walk through the front door. Everything's exactly like she left it, her book on the coffee table, her slippers by the bed. I keep taking temporary jobs anywhere else. Rosa nodded like this made perfect sense. Your mother raised you alone. After my father died, car accident, I was 4. The tears threatened again. Every Sunday we'd make puzzle and she'd play Selena on this old speaker and we'd dance in the kitchen. I haven't been able to listen to music since she passed, until now. This doesn't hurt. That's because it's honest, Rosa said softly. Mr. Sebastian's music, it doesn't lie. He's up there telling the truth, even if he won't come down and say it out loud. The piano shifted into something slower, more contemplative. Rain began tapping the windows. I should go. You're going to sit right there and eat and wait out this storm in a dry house instead of walking back to your dead car. Rosa pointed a knife at her. I'm making albondigas soup. You'll stay for dinner. I've already made up the guest room. Elena wanted to protest, but she was so tired. Tired of running. Tired of being alone with her grief. Thank you, she said quietly. You don't have to thank me for basic human kindness. Rosa's voice gentled. Now finish those empanadas and then you can wander if you want. Just maybe stay downstairs. Mr. Sebastian doesn't see people. But Elena was already drawn to the music. She took her water and followed the sound through a maze of rooms. A library with floor-to-ceiling books, a dining room with a table for 20, a parlor with instruments in glass cases. Guitars, violins, a cello that looked centuries old. And everywhere photographs. Sebastian Castellano at different ages. As a child with his parents in front of this same estate. As a teenager, all height and awkward angles. As a young man in his 20s, filled out, handsome, surrounded by people at ribbon cuttings and charity events. Always that genuine smile, always present, engaged, alive. Then nothing. The photos stopped abruptly 9 years ago. Everything before that date was full of life. Everything after was silence. The music pulled her upstairs. Wide marble steps with wrought iron railings. Portraits of previous Castellanos watching with painted eyes. The music room door stood open at the end of the hall. Elena stopped in the doorway, not crossing the threshold. The room was all windows on one side, overlooking the vineyards and distant mountains. Rain streaked the glass now. In front of the windows sat a concert grand piano, black and gleaming. And at the piano, Sebastian. Even seated, she could tell he was massive, easily 6'5", shoulders broad enough to block out the window behind him. He wore a faded Stanford t-shirt and jeans, dark hair with silver threading through it. He didn't turn around. The music continued for another minute, then faded into silence. Rain filled the quiet. "You shouldn't be up here." His voice was deep, educated, with that soft California polish that spoke of private schools and privilege. Not unkind, just factual. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. I'm Elena. My car broke down and Rosa very kindly." Rosa lets everyone in, but warmth filled his voice when he said her name, real affection. "You should go back downstairs. The tow truck won't come until morning. Storm's too bad." He still hadn't turned around. Backlit by the windows, he was just a massive silhouette, and somehow lonely in a way that made her chest physically ache. "That piece you were playing," Elena said, "did you write it?" A pause. "Yes. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard." She meant it, and the saddest. His shoulders tensed. She saw his hands flex against his thighs. "You should go." But Elena was so tired of doing what she should do. Should go home, should clean out Mama's house, should stop running. Instead, she slid down to sit with her back against the doorframe, water still in her hands. "The melody sounds like missing someone," she said quietly. "Someone you loved who's gone." Arthur's hands went still. "What would you know about it?" Not really a question, but Elena answered anyway. "My mother died 7 months ago. She raised me after my father died in a car accident. Every Sunday she'd make puzzle and play Selena and we'd dance. I haven't been able to listen to music since she passed. It hurt too much. But your music doesn't hurt. It understands." The silence stretched so long, she thought he wouldn't respond. Then, barely audible, "I'm sorry for your loss." "Who did you lose?" "Myself." The word hung between them, heavy and true. Elena drew her knees up, made herself smaller in the doorway. "How do you lose yourself?" "By becoming something you can't live with." He shifted on the bench, still didn't turn. "I used to design sustainable architecture. After the 2017 California wildfires, I designed an entire community center in Santa Rosa, from concept to completion. It was the best thing I ever did." Past tense. "I don't leave this property anymore. Haven't in 9 years except twice. Both times after dark, both times necessary. I work remotely now, design from here, consult via video calls, email plans, but I don't build. I don't see projects through. I can't." His voice broke off. The rain intensified. "What happened 9 years ago?" Elena asked gently. She heard him inhale, sharp and pained. "How did you know?" "All the photos downstairs stopped then. September 9 years ago. You look happy in them, really happy. Then nothing." The silence was so long she thought she'd pushed too far. Then Sebastian started talking, voice flat and careful, like reciting something he'd memorized. "I was supposed to get married. September 22nd, 9 years ago, Carmel Mission Basilica, 400 guests. My fiancée, Catherine, God, she was everything. Brilliant, funny, kind. We'd been together 3 years. I loved her so much it terrified me." Elena waited. "We decided to wait until the wedding night. Personal reasons, but also, I was nervous about certain physical things. But the night before the wedding, we were both so happy, so sure. And she said, 'Why wait one more day?' And I wanted her so badly, and she wanted me, and we went to her hotel room and—" His voice cracked completely. Elena saw his massive shoulders shake. "I hurt her badly. There was blood and she was crying and in pain, and I took her to the hospital. They had to examine her, make sure there wasn't serious internal damage. The whole time she wouldn't look at me, wouldn't speak to me. By morning she'd left, just gone, note calling off the wedding. I haven't seen her since." Elena's throat tightened. "I'm built wrong, clinical like a diagnosis. Disproportionate, it's a medical condition. I've tried 3 times in my life to be intimate with someone. High school at 18, college at 24, Catherine at 27. Each time the same thing, pain, blood, Emergency rooms. I'm not talking about discomfort. I'm talking about physical impossibility, about causing real injury to people I cared about. So you disappeared, Elena said softly. So I built this estate in the middle of nowhere and disappeared. Better to be alone than to be a monster. Better to hide than to hurt someone else I love. His voice was hollow, defeated. You're having one now, Elena pointed out, with me. You'll leave in the morning. Everyone leaves. What if I don't want to? Sebastian finally moved, but only to drop his head into his hands. Why? Why would you want to stay? You don't even know me. I know you compose music that understands grief. I know you designed community centers for people who lost everything. I know you'd rather spend 9 years alone than risk hurting someone again. Elena's voice was gentle but firm. I know you're in pain, and you've been carrying it alone for so long you've forgotten what it feels like to share it. And I know, she continued, that I've been driving in circles for 7 months because I can't face going home. I know I'm lonely in a way that makes me feel hollow. And I know sitting here listening to you play piano is the first time I've felt less alone since Mama died. The rain poured down. The room darkened to twilight gray. Will you come back? Sebastian asked finally, so quiet she barely heard. Tomorrow, if it rains, just to talk. It's California in September, Elena said. It always rains eventually. She thought she heard something that might have been a laugh, small and rusty, but real. Tomorrow then, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, she agreed. Elena went back downstairs, where Rosa was stirring soup that smelled like home. That night, Elena slept in a room with cream walls and antique furniture, and sheets that smelled like lavender. She slept better than she had in months. Maybe because she was exhausted. Maybe because the house felt safe. Or maybe because for the first time since Mama died, she had something to look forward to. It rained the next day, and the day after, and the day after that. October arrived in waves of storms, and Elena came every afternoon at 3. The tow truck declared her Mercedes terminal, transmission shot, not worth fixing. Elena sold it for parts and used the money to rent a small cottage in Yountville, but somehow she kept ending up at the estate, kept showing up at 3 o'clock, kept sitting in that doorway while Sebastian played piano. They never saw each other, not really. He stayed at the piano back to the door, she stayed in the hallway. But they talked. On day 4 she brought her guitar, started playing along, finding harmonies to his melodies. The music they made together was something neither could have created alone, complex and simple, sad and hopeful, alive. On day 7, he played her something called September 22nd. A 15-minute composition he'd written every anniversary of his broken wedding day. 15 minutes, he explained quietly, the exact amount of time it took for everything to fall apart. It was devastating. She cried through the whole piece. On day 10, she told him about her work. Music therapy for traumatized children, nonverbal kids, autistic kids, kids who have been through things no child should experience. Music reaches them when nothing else can. It's not about fixing them, it's about giving them a voice, whatever form that takes. Sebastian asked thoughtful questions. Turned out he understood psychology, spatial design, how environments affected healing. When I designed that community center in Santa Rosa, I spent months researching trauma-informed architecture. Ceiling height affects anxiety. Natural light impacts mood. I wanted those survivors to feel safe. You should do it again, Elena said. Design healing spaces. Can't have to see the sights. Meet the clients, be present. I can't do that anymore. But he sounded wistful, like he missed it desperately. On day 15, Rosa brought them lunch, homemade tamales so good Elena almost cried again. She ate in the hallway. Sebastian ate in the music room. They talked through the door about nothing and everything. Rosa watched them with something like hope in her eyes. On day 20, the rain finally stopped. Bright October sunshine. Elena showed up at 3 anyway. "It's not raining," Sebastian said from the music room. "I know, but I'm here anyway if that's okay." Long pause. Then piano music, not sad this time. Something lighter, something that sounded almost like happiness. That afternoon, Elena gathered her courage. "I have a client, a 12-year-old girl named Maya. She's selectively mute, hasn't spoken in 3 years, not since her house burned down in the Woolsey fire. Her parents and little brother died. She lives with her aunt now, but he can't speak, but she loves music, hums constantly. I've been working with her for 4 months and we've made some progress, but I think your music could reach her in a way I can't." Silence. "I don't see people, Elena." "You wouldn't have to. You could stay exactly like this behind the piano. I'd bring her to the doorway like I sit. She'd just listen. Please, Sebastian, just once. I really think it could help her." More silence. She could hear him breathing, hear the uncertainty. "I'll think about it," he said finally. She didn't push, just left and drove back to her cottage. That night her phone rang. Sebastian, Rosa must have given him her number. His voice sounded different over the phone, more intimate somehow. "Friday," he said, 3 o'clock, I'll play for your client, but Elena, I stay hidden. That's non-negotiable." "That's perfect," she said, relief flooding through her. "Thank you, this means everything." "Don't thank me yet. I don't know if I can actually do this." "You can," she said with certainty she didn't quite feel. "I know you can. If you're still with me, beautiful soul, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love connecting with you all. And smash that like button if this story is touching your heart. Now let's see what happens when Maya meets Sebastian." Friday arrived cool and clear, that perfect California autumn day. Elena picked up Maya and her Aunt Linda from their apartment in Napa. Maya was small for 12, all dark hair and huge eyes that held too much sadness for someone so young. She clutched a worn stuffed rabbit, didn't make eye contact, hummed tunelessly. Linda looked exhausted, single aunt who'd taken in her orphaned niece, working 2 jobs, doing her best. "She's been having nightmares again," Linda said quietly. "I almost canceled, but this morning when I told her we were seeing you, she actually smiled." "We're trying something special today," Elena said. "My friend Sebastian is going to play piano for Maya. He's very private, he'll stay out of sight, but his music is incredible." Rosa met them at the door with fresh lemonade and cookies. She knelt to Maya's level, not trying to force eye contact. "These are snickerdoodles. Made them this morning just for you." Maya took one carefully, sniffed it, then took the tiniest bite. Her face lit up. She ate the whole thing in small, precise bites while Rosa beamed. Elena led them upstairs slowly, letting Maya set the pace. The girl took in everything, the high ceilings, the paintings, the way light streamed through the windows. At the music room door, Elena paused. Sebastian had set up a folding screen. He was behind it, just a shadow. "Maya, this is my friend Sebastian. He's going to play piano for you. Is that okay?" Maya didn't respond, just hummed softly, rocking slightly. Then the music started. Sebastian played Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but somehow he transformed it into something transcendent. Simple melody layered into something beautiful and safe and hopeful. Maya went completely still, stopped humming, stopped rocking, her hands dropped to her sides. She was listening with her entire body. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. Linda grabbed her hand, squeezed tight. Sebastian continued, "What a wonderful world. You are my sunshine. Imagine, each one perfect. Each one somehow speaking directly to this traumatized girl who'd lost everything." And then Maya moved. Walked slowly toward the screen. Elena started to stop her, but Sebastian spoke softly. "It's all right." Maya peeked around the screen, saw Sebastian, all of him. The massive frame, the broad shoulders, the gentle face marked by years of solitude and grief. And Maya smiled, a real smile, open and genuine. Then Maya did something that shocked everyone. She climbed onto the piano bench next to Sebastian. Sebastian froze, trembling, but Maya just placed one small hand on the piano keys, looked up at him with those huge, sad eyes. Waiting. Sebastian, tears streaming down his face, helped her play, positioned her fingers, played the bass notes while Maya handled the melody. Together they picked out Heart and Soul, simple and silly and absolutely perfect. Then Maya laughed, actually laughed, a sound Linda later said she hadn't heard since before the fire. They played for 40 minutes, simple songs, then just exploring sounds. Maya was completely calm, completely present, completely herself. When it was time to go, Maya did one more thing that made Sebastian break down completely. She hugged him, wrapped her small arms around his waist and held on tight. Sebastian's hands hovered uncertainly, then slowly, carefully hugged her back. When Maya finally let go, Sebastian couldn't speak, just nodded as Linda thanked him over and over. After they left, Elena approached the screen. Sebastian. Don't, his voice was wrecked. Please, not yet. She saw you. A traumatized, non-verbal child saw you and felt completely safe, felt happy. What does that tell you? It tells me children don't understand what they're seeing. It tells me you're safe, you're kind, you're exactly what a scared child needs. She paused. You're what I need too. Silence, heavy and charged. I've fallen in love with your mind, Elena said quietly. Your music, your heart, your voice, the way you transformed over the rainbow into a symphony, the way you cried when a child hugged you. I don't need to see you to know I'm falling for you. Don't, desperate, please don't fall for me. I can't give you what you need. What do you think I need? Someone whole. Someone who can take you to dinner, meet your friends, be a real partner. I can't leave this house, Elena. I can barely let you sit in my hallway. I'm broken in ways I can't fix. You're not broken, she said firmly. You're hurt, there's a difference. You don't understand the medical reality. Then help me understand. We'll figure it out together. There are specialists, therapists, approaches to intimacy that don't conform to one narrow definition. You'd really go through all that, medical interventions, therapy, God knows what else, for someone you've never even really looked at. I see you every day, Elena said. I see you in your music, in how you talk about buildings you designed, in how you care about a child you just met. That's who you are. The rest is just details we can work through. She heard him crying, really crying, harsh sobs that sounded like they'd been held back for years. I'm terrified, he whispered. Me too, Elena admitted. I've been terrified since Mama died, terrified of going home, of being alone, of moving forward without her. But Sebastian, being here with you, it's the first time I've felt brave enough to be scared. Does that make sense? Yes. The screen stayed between them, but something shifted. Some wall crumbled that couldn't be rebuilt. Can I come back tomorrow? Elena asked. Please. That night the warning started. Hurricane Veronica, Category 4, heading straight for Northern California's coast, expected landfall in 60 hours. Rosa called Elena. You need to evacuate, honey. Head east. This one's going to be bad. What about Sebastian? He's got generators, storm shutters, a house built to withstand anything. He'll be fine. He always is. Alone, Elena said. He'll be alone. He's been alone through dozens of storms. But he shouldn't be, not anymore. Elena had been 6 when the accident took her father. She'd spent every storm since terrified, Mama holding her through the worst of them, promising she was safe. Mama was gone now. And Sebastian was alone in that massive house. She made a decision that was probably stupid, but felt necessary. She didn't evacuate. Instead, she went to the estate Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock, brought a bag with clothes and toiletries. told Rosa she was staying. That's foolish, Rosa said, but she looked almost proud. Sebastian won't like it. Sebastian doesn't have to like it. He just has to accept that I'm not leaving him alone through this. Rosa evacuated to her daughters in Sacramento. The house emptied out except for Elena in the guest cottage and Sebastian somewhere in the main house. The sky turned sickly yellow, then gray, then black. Wind picked up, shaking the oaks, sending leaves flying. Rain came in sheets. Power went out at 11 p.m. Elena was alone in the dark cottage, wind screaming outside, rain pounding so hard she couldn't hear herself think. Terror crawled up her throat, 6 years old again, watching the car spin, hearing her mother scream. She ran through the flooding gardens, wind nearly knocking her down, rain blinding her. The main house door was unlocked. Inside was pitch black, no generators running yet. She felt her way through rooms she'd only seen in daylight, hands on walls, heart hammering. Sebastian, she called. Sebastian, where are you? No answer. She climbed the stairs, hands on the railing, down the hall to the music room. Found him sitting at the piano in complete darkness. Elena, he sounded shocked. What are you? You should have evacuated. I'm terrified of hurricanes, she said, breathless. My father died in an accident during a storm, and I didn't want you to be alone. I didn't want to be alone. Please, can I stay, just through the storm? She heard him move, heard the piano bench scrape. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you, not alone. Lightning flashed, illuminating him for just a second. She saw his face for the first time, really saw it. Strong features, dark eyes wide with fear and something else. Then darkness again. I'm here anyway, she said. We can be terrified together. She felt her way to the couch against one wall, sat down, pulled her knees up. Outside, the hurricane raged worse than anything she'd experienced since childhood. After a long moment, she felt the couch dip, Sebastian sitting beside her, not touching but close, his presence massive and solid and somehow comforting. Tell me, Elena said quietly. No more hiding, not in the dark, not from me. Tell me everything. And in the darkness, with the storm screaming around them, Sebastian finally did. Sebastian talked for hours. About being 15 and realizing his body was developing abnormally. About the pediatrician's concern, the specialist appointments, the diagnosis that sounded clinical and cold but meant his body had betrayed him. About Jennifer in high school, his first girlfriend. How they'd tried intimacy in his car after homecoming and she'd started crying, said it hurt too much. Could they stop? How she'd avoided him afterward, told friends he was not normal. About Rachel in college, who'd researched the condition, came prepared with patience and good intentions. How it still hadn't worked. How she'd ended up in the campus health center, bleeding. How the doctor had looked at him with something between pity and disgust. About the 9 years since Catherine. The loneliness so deep it became physical, a weight in his chest. The fear that calcified into certainty that he was unlovable, impossible, broken beyond repair. Elena listened without interrupting, let him pour it all out. When he finally went quiet, exhausted, she found his hand in the darkness. His fingers were trembling. Thank you for telling me, she said softly. That's it, just thank you. What do you want me to say? That I'm not scared. I am, that I know exactly how to fix this. I don't. But Sebastian, none of what you just told me makes me want to leave. It just makes me understand why you've been so afraid. The hurricane howled outside. Something crashed in the gardens, probably a tree. Sebastian's hand tightened on hers. I can't ask you to accommodate this, to spend months or years trying to make something work that might never work. Stop telling me what I should do, Elena said, sharper than intended. I've spent 7 months running from my own life because everyone kept telling me what I should do, should sell Mama's house, should move on, should stop being sad. I'm done with should. I want to know what you want. Not what you think is best for me. What do you actually want? Silence, she could hear him breathing, ragged, uncertain. I want you, he whispered. God help me, I want you so badly it terrifies me. I want to wake up next to you. I want to learn your favorite foods and what makes you laugh. I want to build you things, design you a music therapy center that's perfect. Compose you 100 songs. I want to try, even though I'm terrified of hurting you. Even though I don't know if it's possible. Elena felt tears on her face. Then we try together, and if it doesn't work the way we think it should, we figure out what does work. Because Sebastian, intimacy isn't just one thing. It's not just one act everyone thinks defines everything. It's this, right here. You telling me your deepest fears and me staying anyway. It's trust and time and choosing each other. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, but it's worth it, you're worth it. Lightning flashed again, closer. In the brief light she saw his face, saw the tears streaming down, saw hope breaking through the fear. Can I hold you? He asked, voice breaking. Just hold you, nothing more, I need. Yes. They shifted on the couch, Sebastian carefully putting his arm around her, Elena tucking herself against his side. He was so warm, solid, real. She could feel his heart racing. They fell asleep like that, holding each other while the hurricane raged. Morning came gray and exhausted. The storm had passed. Elena woke to find herself pressed against Sebastian's chest, his other arm wrapped protectively around her, his chin resting on her head. She looked up. In the dawn light she could really see him for the first time, strong jaw rough with stubble, dark hair that needed cutting, lines around his eyes that spoke of years of pain, handsome in a way that made her chest ache, not polished or perfect but real, lived in, marked by everything he'd survived. His eyes opened, met hers. For a moment neither spoke. You're beautiful, Elena whispered. You're still here, Sebastian said, like he couldn't believe it. I told you I would be. People say a lot of things in the dark. Then I guess we'll see what I say in the light. She reached up, traced the line of his jaw. I'm still here, Sebastian, I'm not running. Can you believe that? He closed his eyes, leaned into her touch like a man starving. I'm trying. November arrived cooler, drier. Elena moved into the guest cottage full-time, took a permanent position at Napa Valley Medical Center's pediatric wing, started building a life that revolved around the estate and Sebastian and the strange new reality they were creating. They saw each other every day now, not just voices through a door, but face to face, though Sebastian still tensed when she looked at him too directly, like he expected her to finally see the monster he thought he was. They touched carefully, held hands while they talked, sat close on the couch, brief kisses that left them both shaking. Sebastian was terrified of moving too fast, of pushing toward intimacy that might end in pain. Elena was patient, but she could feel her own fear creeping in. What if he was right? What if this was impossible? She started researching in earnest, called colleagues who specialized in sexual health, read medical journals, learned about pelvic floor therapy, graduated dilation, positions that could accommodate anatomical challenges. The more she learned, the more she understood. This wasn't impossible, just difficult, just requiring more communication and patience than most people ever had to develop. 3 weeks into November, she convinced Sebastian to see Dr. Patricia Chen, a specialist in San Francisco. It took days of gentle pushing, promising to go with him, reminding him that trying was better than hiding. The drive was Sebastian's first time off the estate in daylight in 9 years. Elena drove while Sebastian sat rigid in the passenger seat, baseball cap pulled low, sunglasses on even though it was overcast. His hands gripped his thighs so tight his knuckles went white. We can turn around, Elena offered. We don't have to. No, I need to do this. I haven't been around this many people in so long. Want me to tell you about the ridiculous argument? Two of my coworkers had yesterday over the best burrito place in Napa. He managed a small laugh. Yes, please. She told him stories the whole drive, made him laugh, reminded him he was still human, still capable of joy. Dr. Chen's office was professional but warm. She was maybe 50, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Mr. Castellano, I've reviewed your medical history. I want you to know this is manageable. Difficult, yes, but absolutely manageable with the right approach. She spent 2 hours with them, explained treatment options, physical therapy, graduated exposure, communication techniques, alternative approaches to intimacy. This isn't a life sentence, Dr. Chen said firmly. It's a condition that requires patience and creativity. And from what I can see, you've already found someone willing to give you both. Sebastian looked at Elena, eyes shining. I have. They started therapy, physical and psychological. It was slow, sometimes frustrating, occasionally painful, but they kept trying. Elena never wavered, never made Sebastian feel like a burden, never treated his condition as something shameful. We're in this together, she'd say. That's what together means. 6 months later, on a warm May evening, they sat on the terrace overlooking the vineyards. Sunset painted the sky gold and pink. Sebastian had been working on a new project, designing a music therapy center for traumatized children. His first real project in 9 years. He'd actually visited the site, twice, with Elena beside him. I've been thinking, he said quietly, about the wedding I never had. Elena's heart stuttered. Sebastian. Let me finish. He turned to face her fully. 9 years ago, I thought my life was over. Thought I'd spend the rest of my days alone, locked away from everything I loved. Then you broke down on a road that doesn't exist on any map, and you refused to give up on me. You stayed through storms, literal and metaphorical. You loved me when I couldn't love myself. He pulled out a small velvet box. Elena's breath caught. I'm still terrified, Sebastian continued, voice shaking. Terrified of failing you, of not being enough, of all the ways I'm still learning to be human again. But I'm more terrified of losing you. Elena Torres, would you marry a man who's still figuring out how to live in the world? Elena was crying, smiling, nodding. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, a simple emerald surrounded by diamonds. It was my grandmother's. She wore it for 62 years. It's perfect, Elena whispered. They kissed as the sun set over the vineyards, and for the first time in 9 years, Sebastian Castellano felt something he thought he'd lost forever. Hope. 1 year later. The Castellano Music Therapy Center opened its doors on a bright October morning. The building was a masterpiece, all natural light and soft colors and spaces designed specifically for healing. Sebastian had poured his heart into every detail. 50 children attended the opening ceremony. Maya was there, now 14 and speaking in full sentences. She played piano for the crowd, a piece Sebastian had taught her called Finding Home. Elena stood beside her husband, 6 months pregnant with their first child, watching everything they'd built together. You did this, she whispered to Sebastian. We did this, he corrected. Rosa was there too, beaming with pride. Told you that boy just needed someone to believe in him, she said to anyone who would listen. That evening, back at the estate, Sebastian and Elena sat on the terrace where he'd proposed. Do you ever regret it? Sebastian asked quietly. Staying that night during the hurricane, you could have evacuated, could have avoided all of this. Elena took his hand, placed it on her growing belly. Not for a single second. You know what I learned from all of this? What? That sometimes the best things in life happen when we stop running from what scares us, when we stop hiding from ourselves. She smiled. You taught me that. You taught me something too, Sebastian said softly. What's that? That being broken and being whole aren't opposites. That healing doesn't mean erasing our scars. It means learning to live fully with them. That love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who sees all your imperfections and chooses you anyway. Elena leaned her head on his shoulder, watching the stars come out over the vineyards. "Every woman before me walked away," she said quietly, "and I'm so grateful they did, because it meant you were here waiting when I finally found you." "I wasn't waiting," Sebastian said. "I was hiding." "Then I'm glad I was stubborn enough to find you anyway." They sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd been shattered by life and grief and circumstances beyond their control, who'd somehow found each other in the storm and decided to rebuild together. Sometimes the most beautiful things are built from broken pieces. Sometimes the most powerful love stories start with someone refusing to give up. Sometimes all it takes is one person who looks at you and says, "I'm not leaving, we'll figure this out together." And sometimes, when you're brave enough to stop running from your pain and start walking toward hope, you find that healing was waiting for you all along. Moral LESSONS. 1. True love sees beyond physical limitations. Elena loved Sebastian for who he was, his mind, his heart, his music, not for what society deemed normal or whole. 2. Healing requires vulnerability. Sebastian spent 9 years hiding and only began to heal when he allowed himself to be seen, flaws and all. 3. Running from pain only prolongs it. Both Elena and Sebastian were running from grief and fear. Only when they stopped running and faced their pain together did they find peace. 4. Intimacy is more than physical. Their relationship proved that true intimacy is built on trust, communication, patience, and emotional connection. 5. Sometimes the best things come from the worst moments. Elena's car breaking down, a disaster, led her to the love of her life. 6. Patience and understanding can overcome any obstacle. What 3 other women saw as impossible, Elena saw as a challenge they could face together. 7. You are not your circumstances. Sebastian believed his medical condition defined him. Elena showed him he was so much more. If this story touched your heart, drop a comment below. Tell me what lesson resonated with you most. Share your own story of choosing love over fear. And please, subscribe so you never miss another story like this. Until next time, remember, you are worthy of love exactly as you are. Every single beautiful, broken, imperfect piece of you.